Hello, welcome to another episode of Executive Suite. Today I'm here with Monica Swanson, the founder of Monroe Business Solutions. And Monica, can you please give us a quick overview of the kind of services that your firm is offering?
Absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. I am Monica Swanson, as you had mentioned, and I am the founder of Monroe Business Solutions, and I'm focusing on fractional CIO work. And I'm not that picky if it's actually a CIO role or if it's more of just project work, but more of that strategic technology help that companies need. And I've been specializing in mid-sized companies, approximately 50 to 500 employees, because as they're growing and their IT complexity is growing with them, and they just need some help. I have found that typically the president, CEO, CFO are owning the technology and they're just too busy with everything else to manage a growing company. So I can step in with some strategic IT leadership and help them get their IT aligned with their business. So it's not a big gap in between.
Okay, so what kind of things do startup companies need to think about as they grow from 50 employees upwards?
Well, as most people know, there's a lot of do it yourself when you're starting a company, and that makes perfect sense. But I think it's just really being aware of when that do it yourself, a little bit more reactive aspect starts to become too big, and that's actually a hindrance instead of a help. So I think that big systems like CRMs and ERPs, like where you're managing enterprise data, pretty soon you'll start to realize that you have a lack of data, you have manual processes, and all of those end up being hidden costs as employees are spending their time fixing errors, copying, pasting. It's really you don't want to be paying employees to be doing work that's just throwaway, that's potentially causing errors and compliance issues. And I think that's where you need to start thinking through, when do I need to invest in my technology? The way I've showing people, it's like, here's your business requirements and here's your technology. As your business is growing, your technology gap's going to get bigger until all of a sudden you can take that time to align with the tech strategy and close that gap. So your technology is more seamless and working for you instead of slowing you down.
Okay. So I know some companies, when you start working for them, they give you a laptop and they give you a phone and they want you to only use those things for doing company work. So what are the advantages to doing that?
Yeah, actually, quite a few advantages, and it makes sense to do that. Of course, from a consulting or a fractional side, it's more cumbersome, right? Because you have multiple systems, multiple laptops, multiple emails and calendars that you all need to manage. But when a company is trying to kind of enclose their systems, their data in order to ensure security, it makes sense to have that like a separate laptop to, for the individuals, for the consultants that are doing the work. And I've experienced it on both the receiving as well as the administrative side, like me handing out those laptops as I've hired consultants. Pros and cons, but you really do need to manage if you think about it, your technology stack or your ecosystem and make sure only the right people have access to it. You can then also put in the right security measures of how often people change their passwords, what are the password formats, who has access to shared drives and shared data. It just really kind of gives the foundation for enabling that type of security.
So is that more something that you can use for tracking somebody's activity, or can you actually prevent someone from copying confidential information? I'm thinking specifically about companies in the fintech area where they might be worried about somebody, either an outsider hacking in or um, an employee potentially stealing data, or maybe even trying to steal cryptocurrency or money or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, good question. And it really, I think you do need to be proactive with those types of things. It's probably more cumbersome. I shouldn't even say probably. It is more cumbersome to set up a brand new employee, especially if they're part-time or just going to be a consultant. But to give them another laptop to set up a new email versus them, I'll use my own email, or I can just use my own laptop. You are then basically poking a hole in your ecosystem for them to get in and then data and information to get out. If you have your own laptop that you're giving to them, you can then ensure strong passwords are enabled. Of course, this is groundwork that you need to do to set up the password maintenance methods to lock down your data so not everyone has access to everything, but it is really a preventative method to do that. And then when somebody is leaving, then to then get the laptop back and automatically then turn off all of those systems and the access that they have. Turning that off, whether it's their own laptop or your own laptop. Of course, that's kind of the same thing. You still have to do those steps, but those are kind of more the strategic IT methods and processes that you need to put in place as you're growing. It might seem like a pain to do that if you have 20 employees, but when are you going to do it? Wait till you have 50 employees, and then you might potentially have a bigger issue at that point. I've seen companies as well when they haven't taken those methods, and then they start going through a security audit, and you realize, oh my goodness, I still have people that have access that left the company quite a while ago. And that is obviously a potential issue where somebody could then log in with those accounts and grab data. There's also things you can do on laptops to disable like thumb drives, or those drives, the external drives, so that way people can't download the data that way as well.
Hmm. Okay. And now, what about the convergence of telecommunications and computers? So I just switched my own office telephone number, for example, to something the phone company calls Business Connect, and it's an app on your computer. And as long as you have internet access somewhere, I could be anywhere in the world and answer the telephone, and it will take messages and do whatever, right? So it's got all sorts of features that I haven't even figured out how to use yet. But it forwards those calls to my cell phone. It'll forward them to wherever you want. So you can actually give somebody a telephone number, and it's a fraction of the cost of another cell line, and it can just be forwarded to their existing cell phone even. Do you have experience with those? And what are you, what is your thinking about that? Is that a big improvement?
Well, I will say yes, and I'm even going to take that broader to think
Mhm.
about, what you're talking about right there is kind of an enhanced employee experience. And it's not just with the phone, it could also be with password management, it could be with managing calendars. And you keep getting through various types of innovations and automations, workflows. I mean, the way AI could definitely help people, those are all fabulous things, and they need to be done in the right way, right? So you can't just, this is a newfangled tool. I'm dabbling with those all the time as well. Then behind the scenes, you need to make sure somebody's administrating them together or holistically, I should say. And I would say as well, like you don't want siloed solutions. You need the solutions to be woven together. So the data, the information is flowing, access is managed correctly. So this is a little bit more where I'm starting to talk about the strategic IT side of things. And in order for your company to grow effectively, you don't want all of this administration and all of these various tools to just become such a burden. But if you stay away from all of them, then the employee experience is bad, right? So it's really managing that. You do need to put the right innovative technology in place across the entire ecosystem, whether it's finance systems and HR technology and, telecommunications, productivity and collaboration, all of that is going to help your employees kind of do the busy work faster, better, and really focus on the strategic work. Like your salespeople can do sales, your product people are focusing on product, your HR people are doing strategic HR work, your finance person is really thinking about the finances to help your company grow versus cumbersome of like, oh my gosh, and how do I find that contact in order to call them? And this is also disparate. It really bogs people down. Those are the hidden costs, I think, that get people. And it's just a balance, right? You need to be innovative, but be smart and manage it appropriately as well.
Okay, so there seem to be more or less only two choices for companies or individuals these days. Either you live in a Google world or you live in an Outlook world. Which do you prefer? I know Google really well, Google Workspace. I kind of hate Outlook, but I have to use it all the time because one of the companies I'm associated with uses it. So, what do you think? Like, if I was setting up a new business, or even just transitioning from the early stage to now having a number of employees, what would you advise somebody to adopt Google or to go with Outlook?
Well, Google or Microsoft, I I think it depends. And I'm getting asked this question quite a bit, and not just with regard to kind of that office productivity. I get that question with regard to like an ERP or an enterprise resource planning. What's the best one out there? Or an HRIS, kind of holistic HR system. What's the best one that I should use? Or, somebody I know is using ABC products. Should I use that as well? I'm always saying it depends. It really depends on what is your business requirements. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Now, when it comes to Microsoft and Google, I mean, they're going to be leapfrogging each other. Somebody comes up with an update, then the next person does. And so there's pros and cons with all of it. But I would ask then, what other systems do you have in your tech stack with regard to finance, operations, whatever? What's the experience of your employees? So there's a lot of things to weigh in, cost, experience, processes that all come together. And then that's where I'll be guiding people on what's the best choice for you based on your business requirement. I unfortunately see a lot of companies that are using both. It's like, well, these employees are using Microsoft and they're using Google. And so well, now we have both. That's a problem. And I would definitely work to strip one of those out. But I know that's not just the straight answer you want. But I think that the truth is there's a lot of great solutions. And it's like how you build that technology stack, like, putting your own Lego blocks together to build the right technology stack for your business is more where I would guide people versus this is the tool that you need.
Yeah. So I think that it just depends on which one the administrator knows, because the administrative function is a little bit complicated and it's hard to learn something new. So if you're used to Outlook, you just want to use Outlook. And if you're used to the Google workspace, then you want to use Google.
I would say
So
there's other things to I mean,
mhm,
I get your point of view, and there's definitely that perspective to take in, but I think there's also maybe with your HR system and what are some of the automations that you can do there. Maybe that HR system has a little bit more automations in place with the Microsoft stack versus the Google or vice versa. That might weigh into your decision. Your CRM or how you interact with your customers, your data file store. What are you already using? How do you share that information? So I think there's other things that we would definitely take into play if I was going to guide a customer on what's the best solution. And
yeah,
cost, of course,
yeah.
cost.
I think Google Drive is a little bit more convenient than Microsoft OneDrive. It doesn't seem to be as integrated. You have to sort of like open up a new tab and sign in and with Microsoft. Whereas with Google Drive, you just have a little menu in the corner. You click it, and I can open up whatever I want. I can open up a calendar. I can open up Drive. I can open up this, that, the other thing. So to me, it's a little bit easier. I want to ask you if you have participated in, you touched on security audits. Um, have you participated in a SOC 2 audit or something similar?
I have not conducted them myself. Now, I've got 30 years of global corporate experience. So being
Oh,
part of some of those, in a 50,000, 100,000 employee organization is different. Participating in those is I've definitely done some of that. Now, leading them right now, I am not going to pitch myself as a security expert, but security is complicated. And let's go with an analogy. Quite often, I think, let's say something's not right, your back hurts, or, you keep getting headaches and you don't know why. Right. And you're just, do I go to a chiropractor? Do I get these kind of meds? Do I do this exercise or don't do that exercise? Is that going to make it worse? Quite often you're spinning. And so you need someone to help do that initial diagnosis and say, this is what's going on. And here's what you should try first. If that doesn't fix it in a month, then try that. I'm going to be more that person that's going to help prescribe from an IT perspective. So I will help the company's guide of, well, let's not do a security audit. I'm just making this up as an example. Let's not do a security audit right away because this and that, the other thing. Let's maybe fix those and then do the security audit. Or, whoa, we've got some big security issues. Let's do a security audit and then we will, so it's more, I think the overall, I'm going to help somebody go through that. I've had some interesting conversations as well, like when companies want to get cybersecurity insurance, and you can go to somebody that provides that insurance, and it can be very confusing. So then they're kind of stuck of like, I don't even understand the question, let alone how to give the answer. So now I don't know how to get insurance. And then they might go to their managed service provider, somebody that provides that baseline IT infrastructure, and they're going to be able to tell you certain things about your network, your email. They're like, well, I don't know about your applications, your HR app, your finance app. And so then you're stuck spinning. And that's where someone like me can come in. I can do that translation across the applications, the providers, the IT support, the vendors. That's where I think it's more of that fractional CIO role, the more strategic point of view to help guide and then also really take that effort off of potentially the CFO, the CEO. It's like they don't have time for the IT work as well. That's where you need a fractional CIO or CTO to take that over, and I can help there.
So what if
Yeah.
you're at that point where you want to exit, but you want to maximize your sales price? What kind of strategies do you have for those people?
Yeah, there's I'm definitely, getting more involved in kind of the exit planning or, a world. And from exit planning, I think it's that thinking proactively of eventually I need to exit my business. How do I get it ready so it's the smoothest exit with succession planning, with, like you said, making your company as valuable as you can, and I think there's also that appeal. If I sell it, then somebody might be like, I understand the technology stack. Now I can buy these two companies that can weave them together or three, whatever you're doing, there's technology work on that side as well. So I've offered some IT assessments, and I think it's really the holistic view. Like, I think people know in their business, like, for example, the CFO might know 80% of what's going on in the tech, but I don't know, what's going on over in operations. That's, this person that knows it. And maybe the president knows another aspect. Nobody has the full picture, let alone really the health of what's going on. So when I'm doing these assessments, I will understand, like, in a one day more is what I'm doing, just a high level assessment of what all is the technology in your system and in your business, and then how healthy are they? So I can give them a rating of green, it's healthy, yellow, it's somewhat healthy, and red of it's not healthy, it's really slowing you down, and then give them some recommendations on how to improve that health. A little bit of prioritization as well, like, for example, you should do this because that will then enable these other things. So I've done those IT assessments, and I think that would definitely play into some readiness. When I'm getting that data and information gathered, though, I am asking, what are you trying to do with your business? Like, for example, we are going to double our product line, or we are going to get ready for selling our business, or we plan on hiring a lot of people, because what you're trying to accomplish with your business plays into what you should be doing with your technology systems.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your insights with us about CIO strategies and the whole concept of perhaps considering a fractional CIO as your company starts to grow and flourish. It's something that can probably save people a lot of money down the road if you start implementing these things earlier on rather than wait until you have 50 or 100 employees, and then you have to go back and redo everything. So thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. Did you have any final thoughts you wanted to share with our viewers before we sign off?
Yeah, I appreciated you just bringing up that whole, the fractional CIO. I think a lot of companies are hesitant of, I don't know if we have, the time or the money to spend on that. And I think that's where sometimes my IT assessment will help people uncover hidden costs, like where you're wasting time and money, what you should be focusing on in order for your business to further grow. And it is really, I think, an incremental, like if you hire somebody fractional, whether it's a CIO, HR, finance, whatever, I think it is a wise investment to purchase what you need and get that experienced talent. Like, for example, 30 years experience in a large global corporate, but you don't have to pay somebody full time. So it is a great opportunity that's now available to companies.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Okay. Well, everyone who's watching, thank you very much for tuning in. And this is it for this episode. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.